Chapter 276 to 279. As Kuroto expected, in just one night, the entire Konohagakure was covered in a thick layer of snow. The swirling cold wind and the pure white look gave the village an unreal atmosphere. Peaceful, and tranquil yet dreamy, and unreal at the same time. Standing at the open window, Kuroto felt refreshed looking at the picturesque scene before him. After getting fresh, Kuroto dressed in his umbu gear and left his house through the window. Kuroto appeared on a tree outside Uzumaki Naruto's house, as it was almost time to continue their shift to watch over Uzumaki Naruto, Jinchuriki of Kyubi. By the time Kuroto arrived, the other 3 members of the team, 11, were also here. Seeing Kuroto arrive, Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Shisui, and Might Guy greeted him and had small usual discussions. Kuroto originally intended to use the Uchiha Tsukihai clone while doing his umbu duties. After all, soul adaptation is very important. The longer his soul stays inside the clone body, the better it would be. But, if he were to use the Tsukihai clone while performing his umbu duties, then he would obviously need to use transformation technique, and there is a possibility that Shisui and Kakashi would be able to see through that transformation. And if while performing the secret task the transformation technique is revealed, then it would be very difficult for Kuroto to explain. Kuroto might still be able to handle Shisui, but Kuroto doesn't have any explanation for Kakashi. And if discovered, it would put Uchiha clan in a more passive situation. So, unless absolutely necessary, Kuroto would obviously choose to perform the task in his main body. Amidst their casual discussions, Kuroto looked towards the gate of Uzumaki Naruto's house and said, "Such heavy snow has covered the entire village and the surroundings, shouldn't this kid obediently stay at home, at least today?" Kakashi said helplessly, "All things aside, today is also the day when the admissions for the academy starts, and considering the dream he has, Uzumaki Naruto will obviously not be going to stay at home, although we all know that he hasn't reached the age where he can be admitted to the academy yet." Team 11 has been watching over Uzumaki Naruto from the shadows for quite some time. As such, they now perfectly understand Naruto's hyperactive temperament. The little kid wouldn't stop for even a moment, all day wandering all over the village. Even the umbu members keeping a watch over have to be in constant movement, as he would never stay at a place for more than a few minutes. At this time, another umbu member arrived where the 4 of them stood. All 4 of Team 11 frowned. The umbu member did not speak anything, just passed a scroll to Hatake Kakashi. Kakashi took the scroll, unfolded it, and after reading through the information on the scroll, Kakashi raised an eyebrow. "Hokage-sama ordered this?" The umbu member simply nodded, "Yes." Kakashi nodded, and after folding back the scroll, he turned towards the other 3 members of Team 11 and said, "We have been ordered to complete a task." Shisui, who was wearing his cat umbu uniform, asked, "But Captain, what about protecting the target?" "I suppose we have to split up for today. Hokage-sama has given his permission. I and Monkey will be in the group A, and we will perform this task, while Cat and Eagle will be in group B, protecting the target. Make sure to be on a high vigilance," said Kakashi. Eagle and Cat glanced at each other, then nodded. "Alright, if that's what Hokage-sama's order is." Eagle and Cat did not ask the content of the mission, as it is in shinobi code to never reveal the content of the mission to anyone who is not performing the mission, more so with the umbu missions, and both Eagle and Cat know that after completing the mission, their captain, Dog, will obviously reveal the detail, so there was no further questioning. With that, the captain of Team 11 and Monkey did not speak anything more and disappeared along with the other umbu member. With Kakashi and Guy gone, Shisui immediately asked, "Kuroto-san, where have you been these few days?" When Kuroto went to the Land of Rain to observe Hiriko's Kekii Genkai absorption ritual, Kuroto made sure that Shisui kept up his cover. At the time of going, Kuroto did not inform Shisui where he was going, so now that he is back, Shisui is obviously curious. Kuroto groaned a little, and said, "I went to investigate the whereabouts of Uchiha Hiragi." Shisui was surprised, and asked eagerly, "Investigate the cause of Hiragi's disappearance? So, did you find anything?" Kuroto nodded, "Yes, I found him, but he is already dead." Then continued after a short pause, "He was kidnapped by Akatsuki and died in their hands. Even his Sharingan, or maybe I should say, the Sharingan Kekii Genkai, was taken away." Shisui sighed in disappointment. The Uchiha clan has already assumed that it would be impossible to save Uchiha Hiragi, just like the case with Uchiha Ryota and Uchiha Hideki, so Shisui was not much surprised by the news revealed by Kuroto about the death of Uchiha Hiragi, but he still frowned about the latter part. What do you mean by his Kekii Genkai was stolen? Is something like that even possible? When asked this, Kuroto briefly mentioned Hiriko's Kekii Genkai absorption ritual. Although Hirako is not that well known within the village because of his mediocre talent, and not many achievements in his life as a Konoha shinobi, and considering the generation he was born in, Shisui was still very much aware of who Hirako is because of being an umbu. And now that Kuroto mentioned Hirako's Kekii Genkai absorption ritual, Shisui can't help but be shocked. Being able to stealing other people's Kekii Genkai is almost unheard of, and the fact that Hirako has created a kinjutsu which he used to absorb other people's Kekii Genkai, and not just 1, 2, or 3, but 5 Kekii Genkai at once. All he could mutter was, how is this even possible? Kuroto spoke, remember Shisui, if you happen to encounter Hirako in the future, do not take him lightly or the previous person he is known to be. Now his strength has reached a terrifying level, and will only improve as he gets used to using all the 5 Kekii Genkais, so dealing with him would become extremely difficult even for me if I am not careful against him. Shisui nodded seriously and immediately said, then we must notify the village as soon as possible. Kuroto nodded solemnly, I have passed the news to Sandem-sama by an anonymous name. Kuroto paused, then continued, as for whether Sandem-sama takes this information seriously is up to him, and I don't have any control over. Wow, it's so snowy. However, before Kuroto could finish his words, the door of Uzumaki Naruto's house suddenly opened, and Naruto, with a piece of unfinished bread in his mouth, excitedly rushed out of his house. Kuroto and Shisui looked at Uzumaki Naruto, then turned towards each other and sighed. Both understood that they will now be roaming all over the village until Uzumaki Naruto goes to the academy, and then come back to his home. Sometime after the academy part where Uzumaki Naruto only got cold eyes and not the opportunity to take the admissions. The first snowfall of every year is always very heavy, as such a whole lot of snow is collected, so the sight of many children playing within the snow is a normal thing. Their games obviously included various activities like making snowmen and snowball fights, etc. In short, they are having quite a lot of fun. Being a child himself, Uzumaki Naruto obviously wanted to play with them too, but he was unscrupulously chased away by the children as if he was some kind of wild beast. The children feared him, even the adults openly ostracized him for containing the beast that devastated Konoha a few years ago. Uzumaki Naruto, who is an orphan, with nobody to provide for him, with no understanding of what parental love feels like and no idea of why he is treated as such, Naruto could only sit on the swing alone in the snow-covered playground. His small figure, sad and filled with loneliness, had so many questions, yet no one to answer them. Even if he has already seen such a scene countless times, Shisui still can't help but speak. Even as a child he has to go through such devastating experience, being blamed for the Kyuubi's attack, hated for housing the demon fox, and treated as the person responsible for the death of Yandem-sama, when he should instead be treated as a hero. It's really painful to even watch. Kuroto-san, can we not do something to help him? Kuroto sighed and shook his head. They already have too much on their plates. Uzumaki Naruto's situation cannot be solved in this way, because, if Naruto is touched in any way, then that would be hitting the nerves of many people at the same time. So, they don't have the power to help Naruto currently. The reason why Uzumaki Naruto is hated is also very simple. Since people don't understand the circumstances behind Naruto's birth, so they don't hide away their hatred towards him, very few are willing to let go of their hatred towards Kyuubi and acknowledge Uzumaki Naruto for being the hero he is. But those are very few and cannot do anything to change his situation. Since no one is willing to take responsibility for him, Naruto naturally becomes the scapegoat. There are very few methods to solve Naruto's situation. Unless the circumstances behind his birth are revealed, or he wins over the heart of everyone, his situation will not change. Kuroto might be able to do so for Naruto in the future, but currently, he doesn't have the necessary political power to do so. While Kuroto and Shisui had saddened faces looking at Naruto, suddenly they heard some noises from the other end of the road. If you are really a Hyuga, then show us your Byakugan. But if you're not gonna, don't look at us. Yeah, your eyes are creepy. I bet you are some kind of monster, aren't you? Yeah, the Byakugan monster. Ha ha ha. Several children were making fun of a little girl, making her lower her head in sadness. As tears flowed down her cheek, she suddenly crouched down and started crying. Shisui looked over with a frown. Kuroto-san, isn't she the eldest lady of the Hyuga clan? Kuroto nodded, yes. Shisui asked worriedly, shouldn't we do something about those three? Kuroto shook his head. Firstly, it's a matter among children, so they must resolve it themselves. Moreover, as the supposed next head of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hinata must overcome these things by herself, and even if she can't, we can't intervene in such childish things. Let this matter be resolved. The hero of the day. Shisui was confused. Hero of the day. By that you don't mean Uzumaki Naruto, do you? Kuroto did not answer, just watched the happening with a bit of interest. Hey, cut it out! Shouted Naruto. Who are you? I am Uzumaki Naruto, and I am the future Hokage. Said Naruto with a determined expression. I am Uzumaki Naruto, and I am the future Hokage. Said Naruto with a determined expression. Oh, the future Hokage, huh? Bully, 1. Come on, what are you, stupid? Bully, 2. I'll show you guys. Naruto said as he printed the hand seal for the clone technique. How did he even know the hand seals for the clone jutsu at this point in time is a mystery even for translator Kuan. Poof. Poof. With 2 consecutive poofs of white smoke, 2 more Uzumaki Naruto appeared. Come at me, bring it. Clone 1 said. Date Bayo, Clone 2 said. But looking at the 2 clones, the 3 bullies were not only not intimidated but burst into uncontrollable laughter. Ha 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 ha. Even Naruto's eyes turned into saucers and he seemed to be a bit embarrassed. This is because the 2 Uzumaki Naruto clones that appeared were too small, not even reaching the height of Naruto's shoes. While Naruto's eyes returned back to his usual self, as he started looking up. One of the bullies had already rushed towards Naruto and punched him in the nose. Bang! Blood gushed out of Naruto's nose, knocking him out unconscious on the snow. Ha ha ha, I took him down with 1 punch, future Hokage right. You think you are so cool wearing this ugly red scarf? Taunted the leader of the 3 bullies, as he took off the red scarf Naruto was wearing and started destroying it. While the 3 bullies were ridiculing Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata, Shisui who was watching this scene was at a loss at what to do, especially at the mention of Demon Fox. Frowning at the scene, Shisui looked at Kuroto. Kuroto just said, don't worry. Shisui said, but before Shisui could continue, Kuroto smiled and stopped him midway, keep watching. At this time, the timid Hinata mustered up some courage and ran towards Naruto. She squatted next to Naruto, wiped off the snow from Naruto's clothes, and asked, Ano, are you okay? Naruto just shook his head and didn't say anything more. The 3 bullies continued teasing, Byakugan monster, Demon Fox, ha ha ha. Suddenly another child walked over, his hands in the pocket of his jacket giving off a casual and indifferent vibe. Looking at the scene that was happening before him, he said, Hey, you 3, do you only bully weaklings and girls? The 3 bullies suddenly stopped laughing and eyed the 3rd child. Looking at the kid who had his hands inside his jacket, he wore a black turtleneck t-shirt, black pants, black jacket over it with the iconic red and white fan-shaped symbol printed on his clothes. And his face had a bored-up look. The 3 bullies asked, and who are you? Uchiha Sasuke. Reported the kid with a slightly colder tone. Sasuke glanced at Naruto who buried his head in the snow, then turned towards Hinata who was squatting next to Naruto. Sasuke frowned when he noticed her eyes. Sasuke then said to the 3 bullies, I am different from those 2, I am an Uchiha. The leader of the bullies threw away the red scarf and said, What Uchiha? We are 3 and you are just 1. The children are obviously ignorantly right. They don't have any deep understanding of how a fight between shinobi works, nor do they have any deep understanding of any great shinobi village. For this reason, they dared to speak so rudely to Uchiha Sasuke, and bullied Hyuga Hinata. Sasuke snorted, he stepped forward and grabbed the leader of the bullies by the collar, and at the same time tripped one of the other 2 who rushed towards Sasuke. Then Sasuke used his other hand to catch the incoming fist of the 3rd bully, and said with a grin, I will make you remember this, I am different from you lot, I am an Uchiha. The bullies were suddenly shocked and gulped in nervousness. Sasuke obviously did not go easy on them and started to beat the hell out of the 3. A few seconds later, Sasuke cleaned the non-existent dust from his hands, and said, I am sure you guys will remember what I said, now scram. Why yes. Yes. The 3 bullies repeatedly nodded one after another and ran away immediately. Shisui smiled seeing the 3 bullies running away after being taught a lesson by Sasuke. At this time, Sasuke with his hands again in his pocket approached Hyuga Hinata. Coming closer to Hinata, Sasuke questioned, You are from the Hyuga clan, right? The dazed Hinata weakly nodded, Ah yes, thank you very much for your help. Naruto who also sat up turned his head to the side and whispered, Thank you. Thank you. Sasuke muttered as his lips curled, Ha, both of you couldn't even solve just 3 guys, aren't you shameful? I heard that Hyuga clan is also in the same league as the Uchiha clan, but you are so weak. Hinata was taken aback by Sasuke's words. She suddenly lowered her head and instinctively replied, I am sorry. Sasuke shook his head without any care. It seems that rumors are true. The Hyuga clan is indeed declining, unlike the Uchiha clan. Leaving this sentence, Sasuke turned around and started walking away without even as much as a glance at Naruto from beginning to end. On Kuroto's side, Shisui said with a bitter face, this Sasuke. Kuroto shook his head with a smile. He is only a kid, don't worry too much about it. Shisui sighed. Not because of what Sasuke said, but because of why Sasuke said so. Children tend to repeat what they hear, and this is no strange with the children of the major shinobi clans. So, the fact that Sasuke said so, implies that he has been hearing such rumors from somewhere. And that somewhere is obviously the Uchiha clan. Kuroto also understands the recent atmosphere of the Uchiha clan. The senior members of the clan are aware of the troubles that the clan is facing, and they understand that a little carelessness might also lead to the doom of the clan. The relationship between the clan and village has started to improve because of the pressure from Amatsukami. But this does not mean that the two sides are willing to trust each other. So, the relationship is at a junction where even small mistakes can turn back the situation. And that's the point. Most of the Uchiha who are not senior members are not aware of these things too deeply. All they understand is that the Uchiha clan is the strongest currently. There is Uchiha Shinichi outside, Uchiha Shisui inside, and Homusubi part of the Amatsukami. All three are Uchiha who have awakened the legendary Manjikyu Sharingan and are thus invincible. Even if Shinichi has defected from the village, even if Homusubi is the enemy of the village and clan, he is after all an Uchiha, as such he represents the might that an Uchiha can have. Kuroto asked, are your clan members still gathering at the Naka shrine to discuss the matter of Ku? Shisui shook his head, no, the continuous disappearance of Hideki, Ryota and Hiragi has put Patriarch on an edge. He has been unable to establish any contact with Shinichi, and with Homusubi being a threat, Patriarch can't put his attention on the Ku anymore, so there are no more discussions of Ku. Kuroto nodded, right. Even the village would not dare to eliminate the Uchiha clan in such a situation. The threat posed by Amatsukami and Akatsuki is too much and has put the advisory elder on edge. So long as we keep up the pressure, a solution will present itself before us. Moreover, I am sure that there will be another major event in the village very soon. Hirako, who has only recently completed the Kekkai Genkai absorption ritual, will obviously not able to bear remaining silent. Even in the original story, Hirako, who had not even completed the ritual, dared to declare war on the 5 great villages at the same time. This action alone shows that he is unwilling to remain on the sidelines for too long. Now that his strength has reached off the charts, he would obviously not remain silent. And Hirako's first target will obviously be Konohagakure. Shisui obviously understood what Kuroto was saying. Kuroto-san, do you mean Hirako? Recalling the previous fight that he had with Hirako, Kuroto can't help but speak. Without a doubt, Hirako will not leave Konoha out of trouble for too long, now that he has completed his Kekkai Genkai absorption ritual. Hirako hopes to destroy the order of the entire shinobi world, so it's obvious that he will start with the strongest shinobi village. Even if Obito can manage to hold back Hirako for a while, Hirako won't be restrained for too long, and in that case, Obito will obviously make sure that Hirako's first target is Konoha. This is not very difficult to guess. When Shisui heard this, he was a bit worried, because if what Kuroto said is true, then anyone other than him won't be able to defeat Hirako within current Konoha, and Kuroto can't afford to reveal his strength in front of the whole village, as that would give away his other identity of Yama. A few hours passed by shortly. The snow-covered Konoha, bathed in the cold moonlight, looked more and more dreamlike. The white snow reflected the moonlight, giving the snow an unreal glow, making the night much brighter than usual. At this time, Kuroto stood in one of the many streets, with his hands in the pocket of his short kimono. He was leaning against the wall of the entrance of this particular alley. After a while of waiting, Uzumaki Naruto walked into the alley with a downcast look. The whole person was a little absent. He didn't even bother dusting of the snow that gathered over his head and clothes. With the arrival of Naruto, Kuroto raised his hands and said, "Yo." Hearing the sudden sound, Naruto raised his head to look at the person who spoke, then lowered back his head with a saddened expression, and continued walking away. Kuroto, whose hand was still raised, felt a little awkward. No one had ever bothered to actively greet Naruto, so Naruto subconsciously thought that this person wasn't talking to him but speaking to someone else. As such, Naruto ignored him. Seeing Naruto walking away while ignoring him, Kuroto sighed, "This kid." Shaking his head helplessly, Kuroto ran forward and shouted, "Hey kid, stop, I am talking to you." Naruto's ears perked up. He turned his head to look at the person, then glanced around himself. When he noticed that there was no one else on the street other than him and this person, Naruto pointed at himself and asked in a confused manner, "Ano, Oni-san, were you talking to me just now?" Kuroto nodded. "Who else do you see here besides the two of us?" Naruto noticed Kuroto's eyes, and suddenly remembered that they were very similar to the ones that the girl had. Realizing, Naruto said, "Nini Oni-san, your eyes are exactly the same as the eyes of that girl I met today." Kuroto nodded and patiently explained, "You are right, these eyes are called Byakugan, and Byakugan is a Kekii Genkai of the Hyuga clan. Every one of the Hyuga clan has similar eyes like mine." Naruto tilted his head and muttered, "Byakugan? Kekii Genkai? Ano, what's a Kekii Genkai?" Kuroto shook his head. "You will learn that in the future. Anyway, I am here for another purpose." Naruto was confused and asked, "Another purpose?" Kuroto nodded and spoke, "Well, that girl you helped today is sort of like a distant sister to me, and since you helped her out, I appreciate what you did for her, and am therefore here to say thank you. To repay the favor, I decided to treat you to some food. How about it? Would you like to eat some ramen?" Naruto's eyes suddenly sparkled, his whole demeanor changed instantly and he became extremely excited. What? What? Oni-san, are you really going to treat me to ramen? Date Bayo. Kuroto nodded, then patted Naruto's head, and spoke with a smile, come on, I'll treat you to some ramen." After doing so he started walking towards the direction of Ichiraka ramen shop. When Kuroto's hand approached Naruto's head, Naruto instinctively clutched his eyes, but when he felt the sensation on his head, Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. And when that sensation went away, Naruto turned to look at the back of the Oni-san, touched his head for a moment, then excitedly followed the person. When the two arrived at the Ichiraka ramen, they noticed that the shop was empty, with only the owner of the Ichiraka ramen, Tuchi-san, was leisurely sitting at the counter. Seeing the two customers walk in, Tuchi got up, but noticing the identity of the two people, Tuchi raised an eyebrow. Kuroto spoke, "How are you, Tuchi-san? It's been a while since I have come to eat ramen." Tuchi nodded with an amiable smile, "Indeed it has been. How have you been, Kuroto?" "Well, come on in, we can have the pleasantries later, first let's get you something to eat. And I also see that you have brought someone along with you." Kuroto nodded. "Well, Uzumaki Naruto-kun did a good thing today, so I decided that he must be rewarded for helping out the girl who was being bullied, and I figured that ramen would be the best way, so here we are." Tuchi was surprised and not so at the same time. After all, he knows whose son Naruto is, and he couldn't agree more with Kuroto's words. Certainly, a good deed must always be rewarded, so Naruto, tell me, what would you like to eat?" Naruto observed the Hyuga Oni-san's discussion with Tuchi, and when Tuchi asked Naruto what he would like to eat, Naruto glanced at the menu with a tangled expression. After hesitating a little, Naruto turned towards Kuroto and asked, "Oni-san, can I order anything?" Kuroto folded his arms over his chest in a deep thinking posture. Naruto was a bit nervous. Finally, Kuroto nodded with a grin, "All right, you can order whatever you want, but there is a condition." Naruto hurriedly questioned, What condition?" Kuroto said, "The condition is that you must finish all the things that you order." Naruto hurriedly nodded, and cheered, "Yahoo! In that case, 1 pork cutlet, chicken cutlet, fish cutlet, and... Immediately Naruto ordered a series of bowls of ramen. And soon enough, Tuchi-san presented several bowls of ramen for Naruto. Looking at the 5 bowls of ramen, each one larger than Naruto's head, Kuroto can't help but shake his head slightly. After presenting Naruto's order, Tuchi-san turned towards Kuroto and asked, "And what for you, Kuroto?" Kuroto just shook his head, "Nothing for me, Tuchi-san, my fiancé should have cooked a meal at home, so it's best that I don't eat outside." Tuchi nodded in understanding and got busy with some other things. With that out of the way, Kuroto watched Naruto happily eat up the different bowls of ramen, and even he was dumbfounded at the speed he was eating at. He really is her child, through and through. Although Kuroto didn't have much of an interaction with Uzumaki Kushina, however, because he knew her identity, Kuroto still saw her many times, most of the time at Ichiraka ramen. The reason why Kuroto never tried to have any interaction with Uzumaki Kushina, because Kuroto didn't want to attach himself to her. If there is friendship, then there would be an attachment, and then guilt. The reason for such behavior was not something foolish like preserving the timeline or anything, but it was for his own safety. Kuroto had no confidence in being able to help out the Yandere couple. As such, it was better to stay away from both of them so that he at least doesn't feel guilty about their death. But now Kuroto has confidence. And because Naruto has been unfairly treated by the villagers, Kuroto obviously wants to use this opportunity to win over Naruto. For Naruto, who is still a kid, rejected and shunned by the whole village, and not even understanding the reason why he is going through this, the whole village obviously hates him. And if someone were to appear at this time, and he doesn't hate Naruto, only gives a little bit of care and love, he would be able to gain unparalleled importance in Naruto's heart. Yumino Iruka is a clear example of this. Unlike Uchiha Sasuke, who didn't hesitate to turn his face on the whole village, he didn't even hesitate to turn against Hatake Kakashi, the person who taught him without any reservation. Naruto is the kind of person who will always remember you in his heart. As such, it wouldn't be wrong to say that if feelings are an investment, then Naruto at the moment is a potential stock with the cheapest investment requirement and the best future returns. And Kuroto, who understands this, would obviously not hesitate to invest in such prospective stock. While Kuroto was considering all these things, Naruto had already finished eating. Burp. A loud burp escaped Naruto's, breaking Kuroto out of his thoughts. Seeing the empty bowls, Kuroto was surprised. Finished already? Naruto nodded happily. Thank you so much for the hospitality. Then Naruto suddenly laughed, a bit embarrassed, and spoke. Onii-san, actually, you see, the one who saved your sister today was not me, but someone named Uchiha Sasuke, so. Kuroto thought, this kid didn't speak so before eating the ramen. And asked curiously, oh? Then that Uchiha Sasuke should very strong, right? Naruto nodded quickly while dangling his legs. Yeah, he is very strong. I have never seen someone so strong. He was able to single-handedly knock down all the 3 bullies. Very strong, Datebao. Kuroto's lips arched in a smirk, and he deliberately spoke. Oh, it turned out that the benefactor of my sister is this Uchiha Sasuke, then I must thank him. Hearing Kuroto's words, Naruto lowered his head apologetically and said, I am sorry. It's okay. Kuroto said with a smile and ruffled Naruto's hair. You at least tried to help her. Sometimes our intentions are also very important. You have a pure heart and you tried your best. That's what's important, and that's why I treated you, so don't be sad, cheer up. Naruto didn't speak anything. Then Kuroto stood up and said, Alright Naruto-kun, I'll be going home now. You should also go to your home and rest. Speaking so, Kuroto placed the money on the counter, walked out of the ramen shop, and started walking towards his home. Naruto didn't speak anything for a while. He still sat at his position with his head down. Tsuchi collected the money as well as the empty bowls, and spoke to Naruto. Naruto, go for it. Naruto raised his head, and looking at Tsuchi-san's encouraging smile, he also grinned and ran out of the shop. Hurriedly chasing out of the shop, Naruto shouted, Onii-san, I forgot to ask, what's your name? Kuroto did not stop in his tracks, but he still answered Naruto's question without turning back. My name is Hyuga Kuroto. Naruto nodded, and shouted again, Kuroto Onii-san, I am Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto. Don't forget it, Datebao. Kuroto waved his hand and said, sure thing. Naruto grinned and again shouted, Kuroto Onii-san, are we friends? Being asked this, Kuroto suddenly stopped, turned back to glance at Naruto, and asked with a curious expression, do you want to be friends with me? Naruto immediately replied, of course. If you don't mind. Kuroto took a long dramatic pause to think it over. Naruto was obviously very nervous seeing Kuroto's expression. Just when Naruto thought that he isn't going to agree, Kuroto said, alright, then we are friends. After leaving that sentence, Kuroto didn't wait for Naruto to react, turned back, and walked away. Although Kuroto wants to win over Naruto, he still can't show his eagerness, otherwise, it will attract Sandaime-sama and Shimura Danzo's attention. So even if he wants to invest emotions into the most potential Uzumaki Naruto stock, Kuroto still has to maintain a moderate distance and be mindful of his approach. If not for the fact that Naruto helped Hinata today, and Kuroto, as a Hyuga, had a legitimate excuse to approach Naruto, Kuroto wouldn't have chosen to make contact with Naruto. After walking through the long street, Kuroto suddenly frowned and glanced at an alley at the left corner. After gazing in the direction of the dark alley for a while, Kuroto faintly said, come out. Prompted by Kuroto's words, a person walked out of the shadows and said in a respectfully mocking tone, Senpai is really worthy of being the person most valued by Orochimaru-sama. Even with the Byakugan deactivated, Senpai easily perceived me. The perception is really outstanding. Kuroto looked at the person, and his expression condensed. The figure who walked out of the shadows had onyx eyes, and ash-gray hair tied in a small ponytail. His most consistent feature are his black-rimmed circular glasses. He wore a black cloak that covered most of his body. And Kuroto was definitely surprised seeing him here. Because this person was none other than Yakushi Kabuto, Orochimaru's right-hand man. But the current Kabuto is much younger, probably about 12 or 13 years old, so he looks much immature compared to how he looked during the Chunin exams in the original series. After observing Kabuto for a while, Kuroto spoke coldly, "Orochimaru-sama sent you?" Kabuto nodded, "Yes." Kabuto adjusted his round-rimmed glasses with his index finger and revealed a sly smile. "Kuroto-senpai, Orochimaru-sama asked me to tell you that he has more than just one way to acquire the information that he wants, so you have to be a little prudent." Kuroto pondered about Kabuto's words, and then spoke, "You are Yakushi Kabuto, right?" Kabuto was a little surprised that Hyuga Kuroto was able to directly figure out his identity in a matter of seconds, but he soon calmed himself. He reasoned this information to Hyuga Kuroto's identity being an umbu and spoke, "I did not expect that Kuroto-senpai to recognize small-timers like me. I suppose I should be flattered." Small-timers? Yeah, right. If Kabuto is a small-timer, then Kuroto can't help but wonder what sort of monstrosities are big-timers. Thought Kuroto while shaking his head. He really did not care about Kabuto's sly tone and spoke as if he was talking to himself. "Since you dared to appear in the village so openly and even approached me, it can only mean that Orochimaru-sama and Shimura Danzo have begun to cooperate again, which means that the other source of information that Orochimaru-sama spoke is through Shimura Danzo's root subunit, right?" By now Kabuto was no longer so calm, and spoke with a sullen look, "Sai, senpai really is as Orochimaru-sama described." Kuroto casually spoke, "It's not that difficult to guess, given that I know your background." As Kuroto said, Shimura Danzo is aware of Yakushi Kabuto's existence. After all, Shimura Danzo pit Yakushi Nono and Kabuto against each other in the hopes that both of them would kill each other. Although Kuroto is not much aware of what happened to Kabuto in this time and space, and whether his story is the same or different, it's not important. What's important is that Kabuto dared to show himself in Konoha, so there is only one explanation to this, and that is the undeniable fact that Orochimaru and Shimura Danzo have re-established their once cooperative relationship. Because if that wasn't the case, and if Kabuto dared to appear in Konoha so openly, then he would have inevitably been chased by Shimura Danzo's subordinates. With this conclusion, Kuroto can't help but wonder. Orochimaru agreed to cooperate with Shimura Danzo. This is something Kuroto can understand. After all, Orochimaru is crazily infatuated with Sharingan, so it's no wonder that he would agree to work with Shimura Danzo, who is one of the individuals who can help him get Sharingan. But the fact that Shimura Danzo, who so crazily tried to eliminate all of Orochimaru's former subordinates a few years ago, also chose to cooperate with Orochimaru again? This was strange, and Kuroto couldn't understand why Danzo would do so. Of course, Kuroto did not know the impact that the actions of Amatsukami have had on Shimura Danzo, coupled with the fear of the Akatsuki organization, unable to do anything to the Uchiha clan because of lack of both types of powers, and finally the humiliation he experienced at the Gakage summit, and BAM. Shimura Danzo no longer cared about his petty conflict with Orochimaru and re-established their cooperative relationship. By now, Kabuto suppressed the shock on his face and said with a forced smile, "So now you know the other source. And I don't think that I need to remind Kuroto-senpai about the power of the root subdivision, as an umbu you know this better than me. With the help of root, it wouldn't take much time for Shimura Danzo to acquire information on Uchiha Tsukihai." "Really? Let's just wait and see," said Kuroto in a confident tone. There are two reasons for Kuroto's confidence. First is that other than him, no one is aware of who exactly is Uchiha Tsukihai, so no matter how much Shimura Danzo searches, he would never find any information on Uchiha Tsukihai. The second reason is that the fearsome root subdivision is no longer as strong as it used to be, and Kuroto credits Shimura Danzo's own stupidity and Uchiha Shinichi's viciousness for this. Therefore, Kuroto is confident that Orochimaru would find nothing about Uchiha Tsukihai. Kabuto narrowed his eyes upon seeing Kuroto's confidence. Kabuto has heard from the mouth of Orochimaru-sama that Hyuga Kuroto is not so easy to deal with, but it is only now, after personally meeting with him, Kabuto has come to realize dealing with Hyuga Kuroto is even more difficult than he had initially assumed. Kabuto would obviously not let off so easily, so after pondering a little, he suddenly said with his sly smile, "Yes, there is one thing I forgot to mention to Kuroto-senpai. I have already sent Yuki Haku back to Orochimaru-sama's laboratory." As soon as Kabuto's word fell, Kuroto narrowed his eyes, and an intense murderous aura was released by him. This news really caught him by surprise. But when he thought that the place where Kuroto made Haku stay was actually the laboratory left to him by Orochimaru, it was no surprise that Haku was found and sent away by Kabuto. Kuroto sighed, "I was a bit careless." For a while now, Kuroto has been so busy with various things, that he actually forgot about Haku's matter. Kuroto believed that Haku was in his own hands, therefore, Kuroto relaxed and let down his guard. Didn't expect that Kabuto would suddenly come and take away Haku from that secret residence. Clearly annoyed at his carelessness, Kuroto recalled the entire process of learning ice release from Haku. When he was learning ice release, Kuroto is sure that other than water release, he did not use any other chakra nature, and he was unsuccessful in using ice release in front of Haku, so in this regard, Kuroto doesn't have to worry too much for the time being. However, what Kuroto is worried about is the fact that he used Tenseigan's soul descend to leech his soul to Haku for a short time, and urged Haku to use ice release at that time. It stands to reason that Haku should not have any understanding of what actually happened at that moment, because Haku was and is still a kid. But there is still a hidden danger now, and Kuroto has to consider an option to solve this hidden danger. While Kuroto was busy thinking, Kabuto no longer had his sly smile. At this moment he seemed to be shivering, and his back was filled with cold sweat because of being the direct target of Kuroto's killing intent. He subconsciously took a few steps back and tried his best to maintain his sly look, as he said, If Kuroto-senpai can investigate and collect the information Orochimaru-sama wants, then Orochimaru-sama doesn't mind sharing the information that Kuroto-senpai needs, but I want to remind Kuroto-senpai that his actions must be faster. If Shimura Danzo gets a step ahead, then you might not be able to get anything out of it. Leaving this sentence, Kabuto did not wait for Kuroto's reply and left immediately in panic. No way. As a trained spy, Kabuto is sensitive to threats, and he could feel that if he were to stay here anymore and he would be killed without any resistance. Although Kabuto may have tried to hide it, Kuroto can obviously see his panic state. Not caring about whatever Kabuto said, Kuroto muttered thoughtfully, Shimura Danzo and Orochimaru have started to cooperate again. What do these two guys want to do? Unable to figure out a suitable reason, Kuroto shook his head and started walking towards his home. As soon as Kuroto reached home, Yui, who was wearing a cooking apron over her normal clothes, welcomed Kuroto, and also said, Kuroto-kun, we have a guest waiting at home. A guest? Who? Questioned Kuroto as he noticed a pair of shinobi sandals that were a bit smaller, and neatly kept near the shoe drawer. Yui whispered lightly, he is from the Uchiha clan, the eldest son of the current patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Itachi. He came by in the evening, said that there are some things he wants to talk about with you and has been waiting since. Uchiha Itachi. What's going on? Am I going to meet all the future big shots in one day? Thought Kuroto in wonder, but this didn't stop his reaction. He nodded towards Yui, changed his sleepers, then walked inside. In the living room, Itachi sat while sipping on some green tea. His whole demeanor gave off a refined and sophisticated vibe. Seeing Kuroto arrive, Itachi respectfully got up and greeted Kuroto. Kuroto nodded, and asked, Uchiha Itachi, this is our third meeting if I remember correctly, right? Itachi nodded, and said, yes, Kuroto-san, I am also here to apologize for my Otudo's rude behavior towards the heiress of the Hyuga clan. Kuroto glanced at Itachi, he was a little speechless. You came here because of this? Itachi nodded, and said, well actually, I don't have a personal interaction with other members of the Hyuga clan, so I came here. If necessary, I can go to the mansion of the Hyuga patriarch and apologize to Hinata-san for my Otudo's rudeness. Kuroto sighed, did Shursui told you about this? Itachi shook his head, and explained, it was Sasuke himself. When he came back home today, he told me about the events of today. I have reprimanded him, and I hope that the Hyuga clan and Hinata-san can forgive my Otudo for his ignorance. As far as Itachi knows, Hyuga Hinata is the heiress of the Hyuga clan, and if nothing unexpected happens, she will become the next patriarch of the Hyuga clan. And Sasuke's arrogant behavior might affect the relationship between the Hyuga clan and Uchiha clan. And considering that there are not many allies of the Uchiha clan, and the fact that Uchiha clan is facing threat from all sides, Itachi naturally does not want such a small matter to affect the relations of the two clans. Kuroto said, don't worry, I will ask Yui to forward your apology to Hinata-san, so you don't have to worry about it. Itachi nodded with a relieved look, thank you Kuroto-san. With that out of the way, both of them had some casual discussions, when Kuroto asked, so, this should not be the only reason who personally came to my house, right? Itachi nodded, and after a while of silence, he said, Kuroto-san, not long ago, I received the recruitment into the Umbu Black Ops, should I accept it? Kuroto was surprised, and asked with a smile, are you sure you should ask me such an important thing? Itachi nodded seriously, and said, I asked Shursui-san's opinion, but he did not have any right answer with him, so he told me to ask you. Kuroto raised an eyebrow, is that so? Itachi nodded. Kuroto was silent for a while, and after serious consideration, he spoke. If you ask me, I personally recommend that you do not join the Umbu department. You are the heir of the Uchiha clan, so your identity is extremely sensitive. More so with your personality. So once you join Umbu, you will be trapped in a whirlpool between village and clan, and inevitably fall into a dilemma. In the end, it would be very difficult for you to be part of either, without being distrusted by the other. Itachi thought a little and said, but the act of recruiting me to Umbu by Hokage-sama displays his trust in me. If I reject it, will it lead to? Kuroto interrupted Itachi midway, and spoke. Was it Sandem-sama's personal recruitment, or was it under the directive of Shimura Danzo? You have to think clearly. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon at https://www.patreon.com/Kaishin. I tend to polls that decide important plot stuff in my Patreon. Many thanks to my awesome patrons. Ben Phillips, Yamatancho, Yuki, Search 1301. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be here until next time.